Town Council meeting of July 1st, 2019 to order with a moment of silent meditation and salute to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up, open a hearing for a zoning ordinance text amendment filed by Norbert Ansay Jr., 63 Cedarwood Lane, Hope Valley, Rhode Island, for property he owns located at 999 Main Street, identified as Assessor's Plat 27 Lot 102, a neighborhood business zone. The applicant requests a zoning ordinance text amendment to the Chapter 134 District Use Table to adopt use categories 761 and 762, art gallery studio to be permitted in a neighborhood business zone and in an aquifer protection areas based on types of materials and supplies utilized. The petition is filed in accordance with Chapter 134, Section 16 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Hopkinton as amended. Originally scheduled for June 17, 2019, abutters have been re-noticed. Applicants present, I see Mr. Norbert and Stephen.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Legal representation. Lisa, everything's filed. This file includes the paid notices and all that good stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Stephen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. Good evening, and with the holiday pending, I'll do my best to be brief, and also with the heat this evening. As your chair very concisely said, we're representing Robert Ansay regarding property that he owns here in Hopkinton. We are asking to allow an art gallery or studio to be in a neighborhood business zone. As you likely can tell from your packets, this has gone to the zoning board and has been given a positive review. Upon a little bit further reflection, we believe that it may actually be more appropriate to be in category 6.3, to be numbered 630 instead of 134. The reason being 134 is primarily nonprofit and charitable category. And if you look at your use category, starting in 621 through 629, you'll see it's a miscellaneous business category. So I would suggest that everything else remain the same, and you would have within your period the right to amend any decision into our application to issue your decision accordingly tonight. So I would just ask that we change those numbers, and I'll reiterate that later on. We just want it to be in the most correct and the proper area within your...
So remove 134 and what, 63 what?
It would be under, instead of 134, it would be 630 A and B.
You mean chapter 134?
Instead of chapter 134, it would be in chapter 6. We would ask that it be, I'm sorry, instead of being numbered,
District use.
correct, we would ask it to be in use category 630. So instead of in section 7, public and quasi-public uses, it'd be more appropriate in category 630, which is your miscellaneous business category.
Okay, so, all right, can we back up now?
Certainly.
I'm looking at the district use table that you provided,
Yes.
and I understand the reason for breaking it out, because the gallery is not going to use caustic or hazardous materials.
Correct.
So your suggestion that it's either 761 or 762, those are the numbers, one of those numbers that you just changed?
Yes, instead of that, I would suggest that it be 630A for non-caustic.
Okay, and that's for instead of 761?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And 762.
Correct.
So
Oh.
63.
No, 762 is 630B.
Correct.
Right, so 761 and 762 are out. 761 becomes 630A and 762 becomes 630B.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Bravo. So I just wanted to get that right up, addressed right up front. And as I said, I believe it's a more proper category for it to be listed in, as that's your miscellaneous business category. As we suggested to your zoning board, this is going to be a business. It's going to be a business for primarily people here in town. It's going to be owned by residents of your town. It is an arts-based business, and this use code will not impact any of the home occupation or any of the small, I use quotation, garage-style galleries, which have become very popular here in Hopkinton and are a resource to the town. Those are in a separate zoning area of your zoning regulations, and this will have no impact on that and their ability to continue to operate. It's my understanding from the drafters that those type of uses, the unique little galleries that Hopkinton has, will be addressed specifically in your upcoming zoning ordinance amendment. So this will have no impact on those. I want to make that clear to the board. The site itself, which we're proposing, I'm sure many of you are familiar with, it is a fully developed site. It has been developed for some time. It is a shared site to some extent with an existing bakery. The applicants have spoken to the neighbors and the operators of the bakery. They're actually excited to have neighbors occupying the property and also assisting with upkeep and maintenance. And the businesses will be very compatible in that the primary hours of this business will be later in the afternoon and into the evening, whereas the primary hours for a bakery are in the morning and in the afternoon. And as my clients will not be preparing any food on the premises, but they will be bringing in prepared foods at some point in time in the future, they intend to commingle with the neighboring business and help assist each other and hopefully be a benefit to each other. So to that effect, we believe that this is certainly another positive in regard to our application. As we said, the application received a positive review from your zoning board and recommendation to this board. As was very well pointed out, the reason that we've broken out caustic and non-caustic materials here is because we are in an aquifer protection zone, and the water sources here in Hopkinton are very important to everyone, and board members, we've all dealt with it before. We believe that in keeping with the non-caustic materials, both paints and thinners, that avoids the necessity for an aquifer protection permit, and also avoids the need for a special use permit. I would suggest that you put those caveats onto the caustic use category, as that could potentially impact an aquifer if they are properly used. But we have no intent to use those. We intend to move forward under category A, non-caustic materials and thinners.
Do you have a few questions? I've got 3 questions. You intend to hook up into the water line, the whole water line, because the property's not hooked up now?
It was hooked up.
It was hooked up.
It was hooked up. It doesn't have a meter right now.
For the record, it's Mr. Anderson, my client.
Yeah, it doesn't, it has a meter, but it froze because it was
Old.
neglected,
Okay.
but
Okay, so you intend to hook up?
yes.
You have I'm looking at the plans that you submitted, and I know that years ago, the septic system from the bakery and from this building, because of course I grew up in town, so I know that originally it was Rexall
Yes.
Pharmacy, that's where the color came from. But they discharged ISDS into the river, and I noticed you can you explain to me what kind of septic is just a holding tank? Is the pipe into the river
No,
going to stay?
it is not piped in. It's not piped into the river anymore. There's a septic system there with a holding tank with a cover where it can be pumped.
So how does it work? Is there no leach fields? Is it just a holding tank?
To be honest with you, I don't know exactly how it works. I don't know what they did for plans. It was done, not that long ago, but I didn't do it.
There was a DEM document in
Right.
I assume it explains.
It should be, they have to have a septic design.
Right,
They did, which
there's a
I'm not
DEM
sure
document
what it is.
in our packet that explains the septic.
My understanding is that the holding tank is designed to catch additional capacity, and then it be processed into the septic system over time.
Yeah, the ISDS that we have is dated June 1995. There's one in here. So meanwhile, you have a bathroom and you can flush it.
Yes.
Okay. So,
And it will not go in the river, and it'll be up to DEM standards, so.
yeah, and that's why the bakery was able to not do that anymore because the water line, once they hooked up, then they dealt with their septic. They just couldn't before, and nobody was gonna make them because they were grandfathered. There is a limit on the document from 1995. It shows the limit of how many employees that are allowed and what the daily flow is, that sort of thing. So I'm sure you've looked at that. And when you'll be reapplying to the water line, and when you do, there's a test of your septic. There's a process you go through to make sure that either it's pumped if it needs to be, or it's redone if it needs to be, or if it's fine, then you get a clear report. So that's something that is done before you tie in your water line.
Certainly.
And the last question I had was the liquor. You had mentioned that you might sell to a certain crowd for a certain time.
Just for events.
Right, so that would be something that you have to come into the town separately.
Most certainly.
Okay, just because it's just for situations. Okay. All right, that's basically what I wanted to know. You need to check on your septic system, to make sure that everything's coming together and you can move forward with the plan and get the water line and all of that. But I'm sure we're all delighted with this proposal. I think it's great. It'll fit right into Hobbart's.
That's our goal.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Scott, you have anything?
Okay, and this, the advisory opinion of the planning board was that Mr. Crowitz moved to advise the town council that the planning board has made a positive finding that the proposed use is consistent with the Hopkinton comprehensive plan, but a condition that the use codes 761 and 762 requires a special use permit in the neighborhood business zone. And but I was looking at this here, and I don't know if this is amended, but you take out the art studio, in the art studio, the separate heading, one time cost of non-hazardous materials and caustic or hazardous materials for the other one. So it said neighborhood business permitted on both and commercial permitted on both. In the previous use, when it was moved in with art galleries, museums, arboretum, libraries, churches, and cemeteries, neighborhood business was an air special use permit and commercial was not allowed. But the update would seem that it would be, the schedule here would have permitted and commercial in both zones, new zones, and permitted in neighborhood business cost zone. I don't believe the planning board recommended commercial. Can you have any comment on that?
So what's your question, Scott?
My question is, if you go by what I just read, and unless I'm reading it wrong, the planning board recommended special use in neighborhood zone, but I don't think they recommended changing the commercial zone to allow it, unless I'm reading this thing wrong.
I actually think that the museums, art galleries, arboretums, libraries, churches, and cemeteries are 76, which is why it's not commercial, not permitted in commercial. Now that you're breaking them out as 761 and 762, or the new ones, 630 and A and B, is that now the art galleries are pulled out and they're separate from 76, because in a commercial district, although I'm sure that you're redoing this because museums are generally commercial, arboretum are generally commercial, and libraries are generally in commercial districts. So I'm assuming that that's all being changed with the zoning that's coming up, because it doesn't make common sense to have it not available in commercial districts.
So my concern is we have a recommendation from the planning board that says special use permit in the way it's presented here. Neighborhood business and commercial, both P, which means permitted use for both categories. So permitted use is you don't have to go before like the zoning board. Special use permit means you have to go before the zoning board.
And very, very well stated, Mr. Erickson. My suggestion is that the planning board kind of lumped everything together under in a protected manner, and I understand, or the zoning board, and I understand why the zoning board did that. My suggestion is that those protections are put in place if caustic materials are used, but if non-caustic materials such as watercolors and water, those are your primary, and water is your primary solvent in this matter, that it is unnecessary, and that similar uses are permitted in neighborhood businesses. You can manufacture glass in a neighborhood business district under a claim of a permit of right without a special use permit. You can have a fuel store in a neighborhood business, you can have school bus storage, and you can have a bakery. I would suggest that this use is a minimally as impact as those uses, and when it comes to the non-caustic suggestion. As such, I believe that that's the big distinction that should be made.
Yeah, my concern as a councilman is the fact that I have a unanimous decision of the planning board, and it says with the condition that the use codes 761 and 762 require a special use permit in the neighborhood business zone.
Can I ask a question about the special use?
Well, let's, if we try not to get ahead, I know Jim's here, he's probably present at that planning
Yeah, I'd like
board.
to hear what is required in a special use permit.
I'd also like to talk about
Right, but I know, just let's kind of stay on point with
Mhm.
Scott's question about
Right,
what they approved
yes,
and
what they recommended.
what they recommended. Jim, could you perhaps, I don't know if you remember, and again, not to throw a monkey wrench into it, I don't know if the category changes that Stephen made tonight with 630 A and B have any effect on what opinion they gave under 761 and 762. I have no idea. If that muddies the waters, I suspect it might, but I'm not sure.
I think that would probably have almost no effect where they place it. They're moving it under business services. I can tell you that the planning board, as Mr. Hurst just pointed out here, the planning board voted 5-0 that it's consistent with the comp plan with the condition that use code 761 and 762 require a special use permit in the neighborhood business zones. That's what the planning board said. They didn't address commercial in their opinion. This is an advisory opinion, mind you. Council can do whatever it feels as though it needs to be done if the planning board was not specific enough.
Right, and when I was talking about that one too, I looked at that as well. In neighborhood business, I can understand permitted for non-caustic. I really don't have a problem with that. It's basically water-based. But I do think the art gallery caustic or hazardous should be special use permit, because we're not talking about oil paints here. You're talking about metal sculpture and etching and glass furnaces. So anything with caustic or hazardous should be a special use permit in neighborhood business. And I wouldn't ban it in manufacturing, because often glass foundries and sculpture studios are in warehouses in manufacturing districts, but I would certainly put them there as a special use permit, not permitted. But so I have no problems with the non-caustic, the permitted in neighborhood business and commercial, but I would like to see the caustic as special use permit in neighborhood business and in manufacturing, because we're not dealing now with painting. You're dealing with a whole different realm of art, which can be quite caustic.
I would suggest that if the only difference between 761 and 762 is the introduction of caustic chemicals, that the aquifer protection permit that they're willing to go for would handle that aspect of it. And I don't see what use the special use permit would
It
do.
encompasses the same
Could you
criteria.
tell us what is required for special use permit and the aquifer protection? I think we know, but.
Absolutely. I could read you the findings that the zoning board has to make when they issue it,
Yes.
but I can pretty much paraphrase it. Basically, they have to render positive findings that the use is compatible with the neighborhood. Environmentally compatible. there's five things that the zoning board has to rule upon. And so, again, I'm just following your line of reasoning. If you were to not require a special use permit for 761,
Right.
and the only difference between 761 and 762 is the chemicals, I would submit to you that the aquifer protection permit would take care of that. I don't see the need, as I told the planning board, I don't want to be an allergy with them, but as I told the planning board, I don't see the purpose of that.
What about the manufacturing district having a special use permit in the manufacturing, because at the moment it's not permitted? And that's really exactly where these particular galleries go.
Well, you know, I looked at the zoning district use table before I came in here to prepare for a little bit for this, and I'm looking at a whole host of manufacturing uses that are allowed in neighborhood business with a special use permit. Now, that's typically a manufacturing use. There are a number of retail uses that are just plain P all the way down. I highlighted them, I can read them off to you really quick. And what I'm driving at is I think there is a lot of inconsistencies within our current district use table that really need to be ironed out in this next zoning process. And for example, I mean, if you know, corner stores, delis of that nature are permitted by right. And actually, they have to get comply with all of our zoning requirements for parking and whatnot. So I don't know why, I mean, I don't see what an art gallery rises to that level. And again, if I'm only going on the supposition now that we don't do it for 761, if you think that a special use permit should be done for 761, then I think you'd have to follow suit in 762.
No,
But if you're not gonna require it for 761, I don't see the purpose of it for 762 because it's the same use. The only difference is cost of chemicals. Aquifer protection takes care of the cost of chemicals. That's how I see it.
But you also have an address that it's not allowed in manufacturing with caustic.
It certainly should be in
But it should-
manufacturing with caustic because that's right.
Yeah.
With an aquifer protection permit.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But the planning board, of course, was asked about a specific proposal. And if the council moves forward with this, it gives a positive answer, then yes, townwide. And so in the future, and I can understand why in neighborhood business, there are even smaller lots and areas where maybe it shouldn't be, and maybe it's not conducive to the neighborhood. So so I can understand why they did that, but I do agree that in manufacturing, but the question wasn't asked of them, but it does make sense that I believe that something like the 762, you would allow in manufacturing. But
With special use.
in manufacturing. So, and I agree that the 762, the caustic one, needs an aquifer protection, whether it's in the primary or the secondary zone, and that's fine. Here tonight, this fellow needs to know whether he's going to be allowed to use his property in neighborhood business for this purpose. So I'm sure we want to do that, but we also want to make sure that we do it in such a way that because it becomes townwide, anybody can now do this if you allow it in a permitted use, so in a neighborhood business. So maybe that special use should stay there for that reason, because the zoning board would have to look at whatever proposal's coming in. I mean, it makes it harder on the applicant, so I like to go along with your suggestion. But when it comes to manufacturing, they didn't respond on that.
Well,
Is it
this
possible-
zone is not manufacturing, so let's
Right.
just try and stay on point to what they're trying to get accomplished, which is.
But you have a point, Barbara.
I was wondering if we could not address 762 and address 761, because that's the one that we're dealing with for the moment. And it is only the non-caustic, non-hazardous. So at the moment, 762 would stay up in 76 until we have the planning board take a look at 762 again, and with our suggestions that they look at manufacturing and they look at whether it's permitted or special use.
It's a pretty good point, just to
It's
use
just-
the first one, and the second one, we don't have to make a decision on.
Well, I don't know
Well,
about
we can
that.
send it back to.
I have no objection to that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm on board, Mr. Pablo.
Yeah, but I mean, because then the planning board can take a look at it again, which is perfectly adequate.
I would like, since I'm new, I don't know why, excuse me, why, if the original says special use, why that has to change.
Because it was everything. It was museums, art galleries, arboretum, libraries, churches, and
Yeah, but
cemeteries.
761 is just a subset of that. They're not getting rid of 76.
Right, no,
They're
not.
making a subset.
Right.
But
So
the
the
art.
subset is only
is
art
it-
studios,
Yeah, and
not
it's
cemeteries.
tiny. It's not big. It's not an arboretum and a church and a cemetery. It's not huge. It's a little art gallery that's in a neighborhood business. So we need to separate the tiny from the massive.
But if you come around to saying that it still should be special use.
There's no real
Well,
reason.
why?
I mean, every
Why
little
would you be in the
town.
same special category as a
Yeah.
cemetery? It doesn't make
Right,
any
and
sense.
if you're gonna.
They try to separate that out
Every little
because of what they
town
want to use the property.
in New England and the South, anywhere I've ever been, has little art galleries in commercial and neighborhood businesses because.
But they don't have the worry we have about the water aquifer, so that's,
Yeah, but it's not costing, it's not costing.
It's not costing.
well then,
This is
The aquifer permit's not.
I think I don't agree with moving it to that 630. I don't like that. I think it should be under here as a subset.
If they're trying to separate it out for the purpose.
Well, it could be a subset, but I don't think
That's
it
what
should
it
be.
is. 77630 is a sub A.
Not a subset of 76.
No,
It's separated out.
I don't know where the numbers came from, why you
Yeah, I don't know.
proposed 630.
Jim?
I just like to read the list of things that can be done permitted with a P. Retail trade, drugstores, liquor stores, antique stores, secondhand clothing and shoe, secondhand furniture, secondhand books, books and stationery stores, sporting goods and bicycle shops, farm and garden supply stores, jewelry stores, fuel and ice dealers, florists, tobacco stores, news dealers and newsstands, camera and photo supply stores, gift, novelty, and souvenir shops, and optical goods stores, all with a P in neighborhood business. I guess my question is, how does an art gallery studio, to what degree does it differ from any of those, which do not have to get a special use permit?
Well, it sounds like they're going to be actually creating art on the premises. Selling art supplies is different than using them, right? That's what I
It's water-based.
understand.
It's water-based
it
paint.
is still water-based.
I think we're getting caught up in the weeds on that one. I mean, I don't see the issue, but that's me.
Can we deal with 630A and not 630B? Take 630B, give it back to the planning board for the caustic, and see what we can do on 630A.
What's
And
permitted
have
in 630? In everything, right?
630, it's simply a matter of title, and that's why I changed the numbers.
It's not.
To put it in the correct, what I believe is the correct
Category.
correct title properly.
Jim, can you clarify Steve's change from what we have printed in front of us?
Yes.
As to why he thinks it's a better fit in 630 versus
Well-
760?
Well, actually, if you look at the use table, there is a category above 630 that's called 63, and it's called automotive repair and services. Underneath that, the 631 says automobile rental, so really, I would suggest eliminating that 63, and then you could squeeze a 630 in between 629, which is in business services, and then 631, which is automobile rental. So it's really, it's a tight squeeze, you're trying to fit something in here. It doesn't really fit in miscellaneous business services because you ran out of room, that's why it doesn't fit there. You have to really renumber the whole table properly.
Yeah, and of course, we don't have to make a decision tonight, so I didn't bring the district use table with me to look over, and I think we all should look at it
Well, I don't know.
to see whether these numbers.
I think it's worth moving it forward, whether we leave it as 761.
Because number 4, really, we can figure that out. We can make a
It's
decision.
water-based, and we have just have to make a decision on
On
the
what-
changes they want to make, which is a neighborhood business permitted and commercial permitted.
Right, commercial, yeah, I don't have any problem with 761 as it's written. Yeah, especially if.
And then we can have the planning board deal with the second cost.
Right, and have the planning board to deal with the caustic again. So I'd like to make a motion.
Well, we're not,
No, we're not finished.
That's right, we make
Yeah,
it.
we'll continue or close it. I guess I'd like to continue it. So.
Well, we can just close the hearing, at least we make a decision on this.
On this,
Oh, yeah.
can we just do one aspect on it, I guess, Stephen?
I have no objection to that.
All right.
I just have one question, and it might be absurd, but you're not talking about strictly watercolors, you're talking about oil, painting and oils
No.
and stuff like that, right?
Only water-based,
Water-based only?
not a.
Water-based only, that's why we broke them out, because there are significant differences between the two, as you're alluding to.
Just like the things children play with and, with crafts and.
Yeah, I know, but a lot of times it's watercolors and then people painting and oils, so.
Yeah.
There's a big difference, most definitely. And I would suggest to you that oil stuff would go in the caustic category, and that's why it needs more scrutiny than something as simple as watercolors.
Okay. Any other questions for Steve or Norbert before I open it up to the public? Yes, sir.
Can you specifically put water-based in that definition of
That's
761?
non-caustic is.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I know, but it is, and it's also.
Well, why can't we just put dash water-based so it's really obvious
Yes.
what it is? Thank you.
Because non-caustic, non-hazardous is a nice compact term. It'll handle glitter, it'll handle children doing
So it might not
mold.
be paint.
It may not be paint, it may be fabric. It handles everything without us going into the weeds and becoming micromanaging every moment.
Well,
of
I don't know what
every
else you were planning. Were you planning anything else other than water-based
Oh, I'm
things?
sure they are, they must be.
No other form of paint.
Yeah, no,
I mean, I just don't
yeah,
know.
no oil-based, nothing we can either thin or pour, it's just acrylic water-based colors. And I think anybody who paints knows that you put it in a little bowl of water and you.
Okay, but she's alluded to the fact that there will be other kinds
Well,
of
there's gonna be
art.
there's other media that could be used, sure, it could be like, sometimes they'll do something, like a calendar, you know what I mean, there's different things that you could do, but nothing caustic, you know what I
It
mean?
may incorporate construction paper, it may incorporate 3D art,
Yeah.
it may incorporate other non-caustic, non-hazardous materials into the water-based activity, the acrylic activities.
I mean, there's some things that I've seen that we would like to do, maybe with wood, you know, with a calendar with wood and with different days on it, you know? So yeah, we wouldn't want to be limited to just, you know, all we do is paint, you know,
Well, that's why I'm asking the
But
question.
I don't want to do, we're not looking to do art with steel, and, you know, it's really, it's something you can do in a couple of hours. You come into a class for a couple of hours, so it needs to dry quick, it needs to, you know what I mean? You're gonna do a painting in 2 hours, thank you very much, I hope you had a good time, please come back.
And it's also what Sylvia said, what Councilor Thompson said, is this is for the town, not just for that business. And I certainly would encourage things that have to do with children, and they have different kinds of media they deal with.
Particularly paste and
Oh, yeah.
glue and
That's so
things
neat.
that, we'd like to have like birthday parties for kids and things like that. Maybe have a class from a school like the Valley School, maybe have, or an art class, they come over and, you know, my wife teaches them something, that'd be nice, it would be, you know, it'd be cool. I think it'd be good for the community, good for everybody. A lot better than the package stuff.
Although it was convenient.
Well, they're needed.
Well, yeah, this is, so it looks like we've got a consensus, at least I think, on the first part, which is the 761.
I
On
think
the
we should stay
non-caustic.
761,
Well, yeah,
because that's what the planning board voted on. They didn't vote
But
on some other number.
the planner also mentioned about the district use table and fitting into that section. You'd have sixes and then a 761.
No, you're getting that confused.
No, I'm not.
You are, he said, to do the 630, you'd have to squeeze it in, right?
Right.
Right.
That's
It's
what we do.
761
Just
is
look at
fine.
ourselves after the meeting. the district use table.
Right, and we can leave it at 761 if necessary, and give it back to the planning board. And
I
the
have no
planning board
objection.
can take a look at the caustic and then also see if they want to change the nomenclature to 630. We don't have to make that decision tonight either, I don't think.
I'd be,
On the non-caustic, I think we're okay.
Correct.
But I still have a question for Jim on the numbers. Because I thought you said 630, whether it was A, B, Z, or B, fits in better than a 761 in that
No,
particular
the
use
opposite.
table.
You said the opposite.
I'd be comfortable with the 761 and 762. It's doable. We're gonna be doing the whole use table over anyway. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna meet with Sherry at 9:30 and Sean, and we're gonna go over the zoning. In a couple of months, you're gonna get a brand new zoning ordinance, and we're gonna address a lot of stuff that I just mentioned here tonight that kind of looks inconsistent. And so we can renumber them. The numbering, I don't think is important, although Steve seems to want to put this in business services as opposed to public.
I defer to your planner. If he's comfortable with the current numbering, then I totally defer to him.
All right, that's just confused me, okay, all right. All right, so I think we're okay with the non-caustic designations. And then the caustic will defer to the planning board again, I guess, for another opinion on how to approach that. Although the planner has said that to get an aquifer permit, it suits the same purpose as a special use permit, but
We just needed the manufacturing.
yeah,
We
manufacturing.
need to put it.
Yeah, we can address the manufacturing piece of this too. Okay, okay. Anyone out in the public wishing to weigh in on this application for the art studio on 999 Main Street? Next to West Bakery and the flower shop on Forbes. Miss Forbes. Okay. All right.
Move that we close the hearing and set a date for decision.
Lisa?
Second.
Yeah. Motion made in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Lisa, what do you think?
The next regularly scheduled meeting is the 15th. Do you think it'd be ready for 15th? That means we have to have the ordinance. and-
When does the planning board meet?
The planning board meets, the next time is
August.
August.
The third.
No, July 3rd, sorry.
Well, there isn't anything we
Too late.
need from the planning board. We may kick something back to them, but there isn't anything more we need at this time. So the 15th?
It's fine with me.
Okay, 15th.
15.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Steve.
Thank you.
Oh, boy. Look forward to opening up here in town.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful use, it's great.
Thank you. Consent agenda, approved town council meeting minutes of June 17, 2019, accept June 10, 2019 court's transcript as a record for the decision for the zone amendment and comprehensive plan future land use map amendment filed by Atlantic Solar LLC involving Gordon Excavating Inc. and Hopkinton Land 1 LLC, accept the June 10, 2019 court transcript as a record of the decision for the zone amendment and comprehensive plan future land use map amendment filed by Atlantic Solar LLC involving 0 Main Street, set July 15, 2019 as a hearing date for the multi-event permit for a series of 3 free music concerts filed by the Friends of the Land Trust.
We need to pull June 10th, 2019 court transcript.
I want to pull a council meeting minutes of June 17th, except 2019.
Motion to accept the June 10th, 2019 court transcript as the record of the hearing for the zoning amendment and comprehensive plan future land use map amendment by Atlantic Solar involving 0 Main Street, and to set July 15th, 2019 as a hearing date for a multi-event permit for the land trust.
Oh, second.
Motion made in second, all those in favor? Aye. Scott, you need to pull 17.
17 on pages 3 and 4. On the top, it says, back to the audience, Louann McCormick. Louann is L-O-U, capital A-N-N-E, if I'm correct. And it's misspelled on the top, first sentence. And on number 4,
So how is it supposed to be spelled? L-U-A?
L-O.
L-O-U, capital A-N-N-E.
I apologize. I did not know that. No, it is Marita. We'll make this correction.
Commission here this morning. On page 4, at the, in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 down, it says also, he has a friend who lives on the Quidnick Reservoir. I think it's Quidnick, if I'm right, Quidnick, and I would suggest the town clerk check that. Maybe he did say Quidnick, but I believe in Coventry it's called Quidnick.
I will check.
But
Thank you.
I don't think there's a reservoir in Quidnick Island. But, you know, it says Coventry, I think that's Quidnick. I could be wrong, but
Oh, we'll find
that's
out.
what might have been said, but it's Quidnick. With those observations,
Yeah, Bob has to,
Page 34.
For the 10?
the transcript.
Oh, transcript.
And,
On the decision,
no,
on the hearing.
on the hearing,
What page did you say?
34. I had said, and on page 34, because I don't think that would be acceptable, it's just going to make a noise and we need to be at 40 decibels, not 20 decibels.
Yeah, you never would have said
I
20.
would never have said
No,
20.
that's definitely here.
And I said 40 later on, like the next page or 20. So it should be 40, not 20.
All right. Thank you. I will pass on to correct that.
Motion to approve the remaining consent agenda.
Okay, Scott, did you?
The
have anything else?
changes.
No,
Oh, you're all
just-
set.
Yes.
And so the motion is to approve June 17th and the June 10th.
Right.
Okay, second.
Okay, motion made second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, first public forum. Anyone out there wishing to approve? Yes.
Hi, Luann McCormick, Lisa Lane, in Hope Valley. And first of all, I want to correct something for Joe Morrow asking to correct a number. He talked about the Dorothy Gardner property in a previous meeting and mentioned a $280,000 purchase on that. It's actually $380,000. We just asked you to correct that for him. So consider that done. I've been working on a letter to the editor, and actually I felt like I needed to bring it here. And I want to be very clear, first of all, that obviously I'm speaking to 3 members of the town council. We've got 2 no votes on Skunk Hill, and obviously this has nothing to do with you, and I'm grateful for your support. But I also want to be really clear that I don't enjoy doing this. I don't enjoy coming down here and doing this. I don't enjoy the fight. I don't enjoy the ugliness. I don't enjoy any of it. So let me just go ahead and preface this with that, okay? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to read kind of a rough draft of what I've got, of what's going to go in.
Man,
Yes?
we can read it in the paper, you know.
No, I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this, Mr. Landolfi.
We don't need,
I don't need you to tell me what I'm going to talk about.
If this is an open forum, they have the right
That's
to
right.
say what they
yeah,
want.
but they don't have to
I'm
think.
going
we're not-
to
we're not-
read
You
my
haven't even
letter.
heard it yet. Don't even.
I'm going to read my letter.
Can we just let her?
Thank you.
Please.
I'm sure you don't want to hear what we have to say.
Oh, no,
I can assure you, we don't want to hear what you have to say
That's
all the
fine,
time.
that's fine.
Keep your letter.
Keep it simple.
Thank you.
And
It's called
proceed.
Truth and Lies.
Yeah.
Recently, 3 members of the town council voted in favor of rezoning 172 acres of residential land directly abutting over 60 homes to commercial zoning to facilitate a massive solar plant. They did so after the residents showed up at hearings, pleaded, reasoned, cried, and after receiving countless heartfelt letters and emails voicing legitimate concerns. It took many, many lies to get to the vote on June 10th. Here are just a few of the standouts. The developer said that they would meet the requirement of the newly adopted solar ordinance with land coverage of 3% or 3 acres, whichever is less. He said that. In his own words, it can be pointed to in transcript and on video. Yet, this proposal is for 64 acres. That's a lie. The developer said that the proposed 70,000 panels that are going to take the place of 6,700 trees, that you won't even know it's there. That is a lie. During the only way I can describe this is a diatribe of one of the town councilors. She very carefully said, you won't see it from the first floor. Very clever. But we saw what you did there. The majority of the homes are two-story. Another town councilor, while justifying her vote, said that the proposed changes are suitable to the character and of the location in question. Seriously? With a straight face? That's a lie. The last town councilor introduced a letter stating there would be no negative property value impact to abutters. Not only is this ridiculous, but the information was provided after the hearing was closed. Par for the course, and you guessed it, a lie. The property will automatically revert back to residential afterward. Sure sounded good, but guess what? Another lie. The truth is that this is a textbook case of spot zoning. The truth is that the developer has no right to put more than 3% of 3 acres on the land. The truth is that the abutters will definitely know it's there. The truth is, of course, the property values will be negatively impacted. The truth is that Skunk Hill, this proposal is the worst place you could have considered for an industrial solar facility. The truth is that 172 acres will remain commercially zoned. The truth is that the 3 yes votes did not consider one word of what the residents had to say or their concerns. We may as well have stayed home. They had their minds made up well before the hearings, and the developer knew it was a lock. My husband was putting up chairs the night of the vote, and he overheard one of the principals in this deal. One of his buddies said, hey, there's an awful lot of people here holding no signs. He said, don't worry about it. They knew it was a lock. This is far from over, and the truth has a way of shining through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next under my report, I attended the Hopkinton Police Department's 2nd annual golf tournament on June 8th. I played with a part-time dispatch and part-time police officer from Wesley. We had a great time. It was only a twosome, and we played a best ball tournament, actually scrambled. So we had 2 shots each. It was fun. Sergeant Percival ran the tournament, and a lot of money was raised for the local charities that the police department participates in. So I want to thank Sylvia for her help, and I just need some more practice, I guess. So I'll work on that. Next, under new business, discuss, consider, and possibly vote to authorize the adjustment of uncollectible motor vehicle and tangible taxes in the amount of $9,093.69 as taxpayers are deceased. We have our illustrious tax collector in the office, in the audience, in case anybody has any questions, but it seems pretty straightforward. Any questions, folks, for Mary Lynn or anything else?
So do we have to make a motion?
Please, yeah.
Make a motion to authorize the adjustment of uncollectible motor vehicle and tangible taxes in the amount of $9,093.69 as taxpayers are deceased.
Second. Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next under new business.
Good.
Next under new business, discuss and consider setting a date for an ethics training workshop. Lisa, I know you received some some correspondence from that young lady there, and I guess we think it may be August, I think, if I remember our emails back and forth, maybe.
She indicated she would offer any of the following first or third Mondays between now and November.
Oh, okay.
September 16, October 21, and November 4. Training lasts an hour. 16th is a regular town council meeting, so you could have it maybe at 6 o'clock.
No, wait a minute. This is on the agenda, but I have no desire or need to go to this workshop since I've been on the council since forever. So I have no need of it. So if you're going to schedule anything, you need to know who's gonna go and if there's a quorum, or is it just one or two people? I don't
Well,
know.
when as a new
Or someone?
counselor, I went to the ethics training. That was part of that workshop, that weekend workshop put on by the Rhode Island Towns and Committees.
So I wonder if it's the same thing?
I'm assuming, am
I don't know, I got an email from Lisa and I guess about setting something
she's-
up. And I just, I thought I listed on there and if
Yeah.
folks were interested, fine.
Right, and also I think earlier, and certainly we've been to a number of them, I've been up to the one they have at Williams College, so.
When they do the open
Yeah,
meetings?
right. Yeah, so. I've
So
been
Lisa, is
to
there
those.
anything new and improved that we should be aware of, I guess, at this training shop?
Well, did she
workshop?
say how long it is?
She
And
said
I think it's 90
about an
minutes.
hour, yeah,
60 to 90.
it lasts an hour,
Yeah.
and she'd be willing to start at 6
If folks needed a quorum, I would attend, but if, again, you don't need it.
I don't think I need it, I've been there too.
It wasn't for an hour. It was part of,
Yeah, but this is going to be only, and I've been at the ethics workshops at the school board too, and they definitely go an hour to an hour and a half. No, I can't. I've been there.
All right, so, just like we don't have enough people.
Well, you can go either one.
Well, no, I've been involved in government for some time now. I just put it on there because this woman,
In case.
she reached out to us
Yeah,
and.
Just let her know we've been on the council for a long time, we're familiar with the ethics and open meetings.
and some of it availed themselves.
And Sharon has already attended.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want her to find out if it's different or is
Yeah,
it's the
I
same?
do.
Yeah, do that, and then again, if we need a quorum, I'll attend. If somebody else needs to, I'll go, I'll throw my name in there, so.
Do you want to target a date?
How about 9/16, just to,
yeah, that's fine.
I'll just throw it out there.
Maybe.
Maybe, 9/16.
I'll ask more questions.
Or council meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
They also offered it during the day.
Well, we don't need them to come to a council meeting.
Well, generally offered between the hours of 8:30 and 4:30.
This is what she offered.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just trying to accommodate her.
Right.
She reached out to me, I don't want to say no, we don't want anything.
Right.
Right. But during the day, I can't go if the quorum's needed, so.
Right,
But if somebody else thinks it's valid and wants to do it during the day, it's fine too.
it's for all elected and appointed officials and employees of state and local government.
So it's not
So
just
it's
us.
not just strictly a town council thing, it could be for, I think, Solicitor McAllister mentioned something about planning board
Right.
could avail themselves of it too. So,
Could you do perhaps a notice to the boards and commissions? See if
anyone's
there's anyone's interested, to make sure they know about it. You probably have email lists of all the chairpersons.
Maybe
Give them a time if they have to get back to you.
Yeah,
guys.
maybe we can do it during the day.
All right, sounds good.
That was easy enough.
All right, last public forum. Anyone out there who should be heard? Okay, having heard none, motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
I would like to adjourn in memory of our town manager's mother-in-law who passed away this last
And her name
last
was?
week.
Alicia Crino.
Alicia.
That's a pretty name.
That's a lovely name.
Italian Irish.
I've never heard of that. I think it's pronounced Felicia.
Felicia?
Well, it's called a family, right? That's it.
I think that's
Good idea.
She was 94, so that's a good age. That's a good age.
Motion, was it seconded?
Yes.
Okay, motion made, second. All those in favor? Aye, thank you, good night.